I was born in Dallas, Texas. I moved to Edgewood when I was 4 years old. Growing up, I had a strained relationship with my dad. I felt belittled a lot. I was afraid of him, and that led me to a point to where I had no self-identity. I had a desire to be loved and treasured and have value, but I felt like I had no value. I felt like if I was just good and I did things right and correctly and I made good grades and I did the right things, that I would have value and that I would be loved and respected. So I found my identity in being a good person. As a teenager, I gave my life to Christ. I wanted to live for Him. I tried to do the best I could to live for Him, but I really didn't know how to obtain that. As I got into high school, I began to listen to what the guys had to say about me. They told me I was pretty, they liked me, and I began to find my identity in what they would say about me. There was one particular guy that I had an off and on relationship with, and after I graduated, I ended up getting pregnant, and due to my pregnancy, he and I decided that we needed to get married. Although we were married, my husband wasn't giving me the attention that I felt that I needed, and I began to struggle with my identity once again. We had struggles due to the fact that I was a believer and he was not. I knew what God wanted me to do and who He wanted me to be, but I was not living the life that God had intended me to live, although I wanted to. At this point in my life, I knew that I needed to get back into church and be what God wanted me to be. I had a son, and I wanted him to experience what God could be in his life. I went back to church, and that created even more conflict in my marriage. My marriage began to fall apart, and my husband ended up having an affair. So after 8.5 years, our marriage came to an end. After about a year, I married my second husband. He was a good husband to me. He gave me all the things that I felt that I needed in a husband. He talked highly of me. He told me things that I felt like I needed to hear. And once again, I found my identity in a man. We went to church as a family for many years. We served very faithfully, but then we had a conflict within the church and we stopped going. Once we stopped going to church, the struggles that we had in our marriage became worse. It ultimately led to my husband having an affair. It led to another crushed identity for me, and then it led to a divorce after 18 years of marriage. Even though I was still hurting and in an emotional mess, I naturally looked for what I was needing in men. I started looking on dating websites to try to find the man that God had for me. I truly wanted a relationship with a man that had the same desires as I did in serving God and being all that God wanted me and him ultimately to be together. After dating several men, God impressed upon me that I was not going to find what I was looking for in any relationship, that I was looking for something that only He could give me, and that I was only going to find it if I put Him at the center of my life. During this process, a friend invited me to a life enrichment boot camp. This boot camp was supposed to be to help me to deal with past hurts, to forgive, and I so badly wanted those things. I attended the boot camp, and I've never cried and dug so deep in all of my life. It was painful and it was hard, but it was so freeing. I learned to forgive others. I learned that hurting people hurt people. I needed to forgive myself. I had harbored a lot of pain and bitterness towards myself for the failures that I'd had in my life. I had put my identity in what a man thought of me. That's when Christ really began to do a wonderful work in my life. After all the failed relationships and all the people that I felt had let me down, I finally found my one true love. I found in God all the things that I had searched for so many years in a man. He was true, he was faithful, he would never leave me, and he would always love me. If you're listening to my story today, you might be able to relate. If you find your identity in a boyfriend, in a man, in your children, in a job, or whatever it may be, then I'm here to tell you that after all the hurt that I've gone through, learn that Christ is the only one that will ever give you true peace, that will give you true happiness. Every single day, God shows me through prayer, through His Word, through songs, that He is right there beside me, that He longs to spend time with me, that He loves me unconditionally. He has shown me that He has given me a beautiful identity. Stonepoint Church, thanks for making room for me and allowing me to be a part of this family. I am Brenda Taylor. I have been crucified with Christ. I no longer live, but it's Christ who lives in me.